Hi, my name is Allison Glasgow, and today I'm going to talk to you guys about the Rubik's Cube Lending Library. I am an elementary librarian at Galloway Elementary in Mesquite, Texas. I've been a librarian for 15 years, and this is my 6th year at Galloway. I serve students in grades pre-K through 5th grade, and I have about 450 students. So what I want to talk to you guys today about is I want to talk to you about the Rubik's Cube Lending Library. I learned about it a little over a year ago, and I thought it would be a fun project to take on in the library. So basically what I did is I got online and I researched and I found the program. And what you can do is you can borrow sets of Rubik's Cubes for up to 6 weeks. So they have sets of 12, 24, 36, or if you're wanting to do a really big mosaic, they have them up to 600. You do not have to pay to borrow the cubes. However, you do have to pay to ship them back, which was not a lot of money for the set that I borrowed, and I borrowed a set of 36. So to set up, you just go to their website, and you will click on the link that lets you reserve them, and you just pick your dates. And it takes about a day or two to get a confirmation back from them to know that you do have your dates. So I know for me, because I had them for 6 weeks, I wanted to make sure that I got them for a 6-week period that I felt like I could make the most of. And so I know I chose January because it was after the holidays and we weren't going to be doing any testing at that time, and we weren't going to have any breaks for a while. And I wanted to be able to maximize the use of my Rubik's Cubes for that 6 weeks. So when I got them, I actually received them in December, which was nice. It gave me some time to kind of go through the material that was there and kind of fiddle with the cubes a little bit to see what I wanted to do. There are some contests that go along with the Rubik's Cube Lending Library. You can do a mosaic. Your school can design one and enter it, and there are prizes available. When you return it, there are options. If you return your entire set and all the cubes are solved, you'll be entered in a program to potentially win a class set of Rubik's Cubes. So I didn't find that out until I got my email about returning my cubes and what I needed to do. So I felt like, it was a little late to, get my kids together and try to get all the cubes solved. But just know in advance that they did have some activities that you could do to give your kids incentives to try to win a free class set. They also gave me some coupons when I returned them so I could buy some of my own sets on their shop. And I think they were 20% off coupons, so it was a pretty good deal. So the Rubik's Cube Lending Library, like I said, it's free. You just have to pay for shipping, and it was a really, really fun program that I did with my students. So when I kicked off doing the Rubik's Cube Library, with my classes, I launched them with this video.
Imagine the awesomest thing you can, like an automatic grilled cheese maker, or a time machine with an automatic grilled cheese maker. Now imagine who's going to invent it. Him? Glasses here? Whoever they are? Or maybe her? But how do kids like these become the types of people that do things like this? Maybe we should ask this guy.
Knowledge is heavy. Sometimes it's a limit to have new ideas. That's the problem with the old schooling, because they were teaching answers. I believe questions are probably more important today than the answers.
Erno's cube is a question waiting to be answered. And when the right person finds the right question, something amazing happens. They start seeing the world as it truly is. Not a place to be memorized, but a place to be figured out, flipped, turned, twisted, and ultimately made better, forever. Today, she may be an octopus, but help kids like her fall in love with problem solving, and they will embark on journeys to become scientists, artists, engineers, designers, inventors, or something no one's ever been before, but you can bet we're gonna need. That's why moments like this, go, and this, and this, and especially this, are so important. Because there are companies to found, planets to walk on, time machines to invent, a future to be made amazing. We may not know what it's going to look like, know who's going to do it.
So when I did this program with my students at school, my initial intentions were to do it with 3rd through 5th grade. And I launched with this. One of my goals last year with my students was research that they could connect to. And so since we were going to do some Rubik's Cube activities, I wanted to have the kids do some very simple research, brush up on some skills along with it. So what we did is I gave all the kids a question every class. And the question was, what year was the Rubik's Cube inducted into the Toy Hall of Fame? And I explained to the kids that, the Rubik's Cube was around when I was a kid, and I was actually older than the Rubik's Cube. And we were kind of curious as to how long it took for it to get into the Toy Hall of Fame. So we had a portal that was new to our students last year. And so I was wanting to push my kids to go into the portal to find their answers versus going out on the World Wide Web. So that's one of my parameters with finding the answer to the question is you had to be in the portal. We talked a lot about search terms because my kids have really bad habits of going onto Google and typing in their question and hoping that the answer just popped up. So I talked to the kids about, when you do research, you can't necessarily put your question in. You need to narrow it down, think of the important search terms, and pull your searches up that way. All of my students were actually really successful with finding the answer. Some of the groups found them really quickly. Some of the groups it took like 20 minutes, but it was okay because they were using skills and getting into the databases and determining which ones, would have the information and which one wouldn't. So after they found out the answer to the question that I wanted, which was when it was inducted, it was actually 2014, I had the kids go and find some facts about the Rubik's Cube. And I wanted them to do that because I just wanted them to see like all the different possibilities of information that they could learn about it. I told the kids that they can find the answers in the portal, which is really what I prefer. However, if they chose to go out on the World Wide Web to find their facts about the Rubik's Cube, they had to defend their sources. They did not have to defend their sources if they used the portal because I've always talking to the kids about how the portal is safe and it's good information. We know that it's current. We know who's putting it together, so we don't need to worry about it versus going out on the World Wide Web. Most of my groups chose to stay in the portal and go into some different databases to find some facts about Rubik's Cube or no Rubik. I told them they could find some facts about him. The groups that went out onto the World Wide Web, they did find really good facts. However, they struggled a lot with defending their sources because I was like, well, who runs this website? How do you know that it's a good current website? Who found the facts? And those kids, when I started asking them those questions about, was it a good site? And they struggled with defending it. So a lot of them turned around and went back to the portal to find their information, which we're elementary school. I know that, eventually kids are going to have to get online and find it. But with elementary, I'm really wanting to get in the habits of using our district databases that we invest so much time in and money in. And so, it worked. The kids basically went back to the portal to find their information, but everybody was successful. They were all able to find their question and their facts within about 30 or 35 minutes. So it gave some of the groups 10, 15 minutes to mess around with the Rubik's Cubes. We did not just spend one day with solving the Rubik's Cubes. My teachers, they booked a couple different class times with me so the kids could sit down and work with solving the cube. When you get your Rubik's Cubes, you are given a lot of pamphlets that are step-by-step guides. Of course, some of my kids struggle with reading a pamphlet, and that's not how they learn. Some of them need to watch a video, so they were able to get online and look for some videos. Rubik's Cubes also has videos on their website, so some of the kids chose to do that, and other kids just kind of sat down and wanted to try to solve it on their own. They didn't even want to try to read the directions. Most of my teachers would sit down and try to work with the cubes as well, so it was fun to, for the kids to see that, teachers have to work at this too. Not all of them are able to solve it, so they could sit down and see their teachers dig in and try to work at solving the cube as well. I did put it out as a makerspace. So after we got through the first couple weeks, if kids just wanted to, gravitate and use the Rubik's Cubes, they could. And I also had students that, since it was winter and it was kind of chilly out here and some days they weren't able to go outside for recess, some of them would come down and borrow the Rubik's Cubes and take them back up to their room. I have a really trustworthy group of kids, so I can pretty much leave things out and I don't have to worry about it. I will say with Rubik's Cubes, they say if any of the cubes are broken or stolen, they do ask you just to replace it with a Rubik's Cube brand, Rubik's Cube. I did not have that problem, but I do advise if that happens to you. I was able to find them on Walmart.com before January for less than $4. So, and Target always has good prices on them as well, and they're on Amazon. So, but I didn't have to worry about replacing any of them. So when kids solved the cube, we celebrated because it's a huge celebration. Not everybody is able to solve a cube, and it takes some time to sit down and do it. So Rubik's Cubes does have printables. So you'll notice this student solved a 2x2 because I later went back and bought 2x2s because the kids loved them. I bought 3x3s as well. We have a set of about 225 in the library and that I've slowly acquired because the Rubik's Cubes is such a big hit with my kids. So when kids solve the cube, they get a certificate. They announce it on the announcements. They can go to the cafeteria and get a free ice cream. And the teachers are very intentional, and they send a message home with the parents so the parents know that their child worked hard and they were problem solvers and they didn't give up and they were able to celebrate, them solving the cube. So the celebrations were big. After we did some solving, I decided to go into mosaics, and there are so many different possibilities with Rubik's Cubes, but I just kind of gravitated towards the art part of doing the mosaics. I decided to make our school slogan, which my principal is really big on, G is greater than me. And so I designed a very, very simple mosaic, and I set it out, and I just had some kids naturally gravitate towards it. You'll see I just did it on graph paper. And what I noticed as I was doing it is there are a lot of possibilities with math. So I will get into that a little later. But when we did it with the kids, we integrated math into it. So my kids were really successful at solving the mosaics. They actually were able to do them within a week or so. So we never had to, it was never drug out more than 1 or 2 weeks. There are mosaics for every occasion, and these are just a couple that I pulled off of the website that you can download in PDF. Right now we are doing the MLK one that's 225 Rubik's Cubes, and I just made a really big graph paper that sits on the table, and the kids read the graph that they give you, and they kind of figure out the placement of where all the cubes go. They have really simple ones like the smiley face or the different art projects, but you can find a Rubik's Cube for any occasion. So it's always really fun. And you can even just go out on the World Wide Web and Google it. And there's some really amazing videos on people solving and making really huge mosaics. There's also, a lot of stuff on Pinterest. So you're not really limited to just the Rubik's Cube website. And from my understanding, I have not done it, but there are some generators that you can upload pictures and they will generate your mosaics. It does cost money and I haven't done it, but I have seen some of the websites that do that. So we decided, I decided to do a student design contest because my kids really enjoyed the mosaics and I liked them. So we spent about 2 or 3 weeks doing the design. The students were able to look at images online, and we got a wide variety of images. These were some of my better ones. The blue and red peacock was the one that won for our campus, and that student got a prize. The Texas map was really original. That student really, really struggled with the star, but he didn't give up and he kept going. And I did have some kids, because I have 2x2s as well. They designed some images that were 2x2. The students, there were some that really struggled with it, and it was okay. What I liked about the Student Design Challenge was, even though I required all of my students in 3rd through 5th grade to do it, the kids that it was their niche, they really, really blossomed with this activity. And so I liked it because it gave them the chance to shine and other students see their work and kind of show off some of their talents, because I think integrating art in the library is really, really important.